Welcome back, or good evening, if you just arrived and joined us. Thanks for dropping by. Still smoking my Meerschaum Bertram from the 60s, I think. Part of my small collection. And in it, some will go with Squadron Leader sample. I'll get straight to it. I saw a tobacco-related headline on our Russian news websites today. Couldn't, stay away from that. And it's another leg of prohibition. This time, it's about balconies. Apparently, amendments are introduced and into the legislation, and they will take effect on 1st of October. About basic fire safety regulations in respect to the living premises. Which for the majority of city dwellers here in Russia is apartment blocks or flats, however you'd like to call them. I haven't seen the legislation itself, the project, anyways, the draft, but it deals, among other things, it contains a prohibition of open fire on a balcony. Close the balcony. Close the window because someone is arguing over there late at night. Anyways, prohibition of open fire. Specifically barbecues. Haven't seen that in Moscow, but apparently it's a thing in Russia. Many of foreigners wonder, how do you manage without a backyard? Well, apparently some people are, grilling their meat on the balconies. Or preparing what you Westerners will probably call shish kebab. Grilling meat, doing barbecues. Everything can be done on a balcony, apparently. So that is prohibited, naturally, and that's quite, understandable. But the representatives of the Ministry of the Russian Federation for Civil Defense, Emergencies and Elimination of Consequences of Natural Disasters, or Emercom of Russia, for some reason unknown, chimed in and said that this prohibition also implies and includes candles and smoking. So all the headlines goes that Russians are, starting from the 1st of October, Russians are prohibited to smoke on their balconies. Of course, there's a certain amount of backlash in the comments and from respondents, from from different online experts, both dealing with fire hazards and smoking and the legal aspect of it all. My first thought is this ministry that is supposed to deal with civil defense, emergencies, and elimination of consequences of natural disasters. Natural disasters are one thing. Basic fire safety regulations are quite another thing. These guys are not lawmakers. What the hell do they have to do with that? This legislation? Their job is emergencies and natural disasters. A fire in the apartment is not a natural disaster. That's the job of a fireman. Another question I have is, as far as I understand, this draft regulation specifically states open fire. No, this is not open fire. This is not considered to be open fire, as far as I understand. Even the burning candle, I don't know. The intent is, I understand their intent. It's not, no conspiracy theories here, no, war on smokers, on tobacco. Cigarettes on the balcony are definitely a fire hazard. But not because of the open fire, but because of the simple fact that irresponsible douchebags are throwing their cigarette butts from the balcony. I know that firsthand. I received a burning cigarette to my temple once. And my grandma's balcony at her apartment caught fire. One night when she was away, because of the cigarette that was thrown from the couple of stories above. She comes home, the door is knocked down by the fire brigade that marched through the flat, extinguished the fire. So the hazard is real, but it has nothing to do with open fire or the nature of smoking or anything like that. It has to do with people being irresponsible, people being douchebags. No prohibition will eliminate the douchebaggery. And from a legal standpoint, even if the court agrees that smoking on the balcony is a fire hazard, the case must reach the court. I wonder how the lawmakers envision this process. Well, there will be patrols looking out, circling, the streets. Maybe smelling the burning tobacco. Or maybe the neighbors should whiff the smoke and call the police. Can you imagine? The police station receiving this, urgent report. Come here at once, someone is smoking there. No one will come. And in order to present their case and to file a complaint, they'll have to, what? Film? The act of smoking? And then submit it? No one will bother unless you're, a creepy old man who has nothing to do with your life. Other than spying on your neighbors. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I mentioned that once. There's a saying in Russian that I cannot translate in English properly. It roughly translates as the strictness of Russian prohibition is always mitigated by a good chance of avoiding going around it, something like that. Let me put it that way. The strictness of the law is nullified by the ability to go around it. Let me put it that way. So this is again a nice example of first the incompetence of our lawmakers. Second, the willingness of our officials to immediately broaden the scope of the law. And we cannot go without the media hysteria. We haven't seen any official statement yet. We haven't seen, there's no court case, no nothing. But the headlines are already there. Russians will be prohibited to smoke on balconies. Maybe. That's not 100% sure, but who cares? It's the headline that counts. And the angry commenters clicking on your website. Another thing. Each the action must be judged on its potential danger. my grandma, since the fire, when they fixed the consequences of the fire and replaced all the fittings on the balcony, they installed windows, so it's completely sealed, like another room, small room basically. If I'm smoking this pipe on that balcony, and I close the windows, no one will notice, first of all, and second of all, I'm not harming anyone. There are no, glowing embers flying off, no cigarette butts flying off. I am zero danger, unless I have a stroke and, fall down, drop the pipe and start a fire that way. Which is highly unlikely. But we're in Russia. Prohibit first, think later. There's a prohibition of smoking in the living premises, in the staircases, in the elevators. Does it stop anyone? People are smoking on the staircase over there. They don't give a shit about prohibition. What am I supposed to do? Go film them? It all boils down to the people being douchebags. As usual. As always. 90% of the cases in Russia. Anyways, I think the pipe is done. And I'm done with this topic as well. So if anyone is telling you that the fight against the smokers rages on in Russia, take it with a grain of salt. I thank you for dropping by, and I'll be back soon with another one of my videos. Until then, happy puffing, happy Friday. Hope your pipe stays lit better than mine. And until then, see you people. Goodbye. Bye now.